Howdy, 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 and welcome to the Red Dirt Aggie Show. My name's Brian, the Red Dirt Aggie. This will be a basketball-focused episode. March Madness is right around the corner, so I want to talk some Aggie basketball, Buckyball in full swing. I want to look back at this season, how we got to this point through Buckyball, and what I actually did is I put in the time and pulled the numbers, and I think it's time we compare Buckyball to Buzzball. I guess we'll call it, and really see the impact that Bucky's had on this program in just 1 year at the helm. And then we'll talk a little bit about the matchup in March Madness against St. Mary's, how the two teams stack up, and what we can expect to see on Thursday. I want to talk about, A&M's performance this year, and it was great. And you look back at last year, a year that was a great season that then ended in disappointment in March Madness, right? We thought we would turn the corner a little bit more, and we just didn't. And then Buzz runs off to Maryland. That being said, you look back at last year, and we were 23-11 overall to finish the season, 11-7 in conference play. Well, this year, Bucky's first year, he comes in and goes 21-11, right? So we didn't have the wins in the conference tournament like we did last year, but 21-11, and we head to March Madness and an opportunity to in a nice spot to where we could possibly make some noise. And I don't want to say Bucky's ahead of schedule. A lot of people predicted us to finish really low in the SEC this year, and that didn't happen. And no one would have thought that we would be in March Madness, but here we are. We're here, and I think there's a lot of people underestimated the impact the Buckyball can have. So let's take a look at the numbers, because I think that really tells a good portion of the story. And I've got some notes here on my phone, so if you see me looking down a little bit here and there, that's why. But just looking at the Buzz Williams numbers from last year, first of all, the three-pointers, right? As a team last year, A&M shot 30.7% from three. Their opponents, 33.3%. So we were not good from three last year. We weren't really great shooting the ball at all last year, aside from Wade Taylor and a couple others down the stretch later in the year. But definitely more of a physical team, right, than a shooting team last year. But again, 30.7% from three on the year, 41.8% field goal percentage, and we were below 70% on our free throws, 69.2%. Now, last season, we did out-rebound our opponents 1395 to 1,000, which is kind of insane, right? There was a lot of extra chances for us to get points, and that's kind of what Buzz Williams' style of play was. You grind it out, chuck it up after a while on the shot clock, get a rebound, try again, wear your team down, and that led to a lot of low-scoring games. We only averaged 74.6 points per game and held opponents under 70 at 68.7. So those numbers aren't bad, right? You look at that and you're like, wow. But you have to remember, this is near the end of Buzz Williams. This is like the last season that Buzz had at A&M. He'd had time to develop his roster, bring in who he wanted. And so Buzz had essentially what he thought was going to be his best team and his best chance to have a lot of success there at A&M. And did he? Well, in the regular season, sure. But what happened when we got to March? Nothing, right? Sent packing. So it's just interesting to think that with all of that talent, right, that where did it really get us? Now, you look at Buckyball this year, in a year that Bucky had very limited amount of time to compile this roster from the portal, but he found the right pieces, right? He made it work. He installed his system in Aggie Land very quickly over the summer, and he comes in, and all of a sudden, instead of shooting 30% from three on the year, we're up to 36%, 36.2%. and still holding opponents pretty low on the 3-point percentage at 31.7. And not only that, but our regular overall field goal percentage went up to 45.8, almost at 46, up from the 41.8% that it was last year. So that's a 4% increase there. Um, and then free throws, right? A big jump in free throws, up about 4% from last year. 73.7% free throws, up from the 69% last year. So better at shooting, scoring, free throws, right? Things we know that Bucky cares about, right? That Bucky Paul is all about. Now, the up-tempo style of play really led to an increase in scoring for us. We averaged 87.7 points per game this year, which is nuts and is way, way higher than that 74 points per game we were looking at last year. And, still holding opponents down below 80 at 79.5. And rebounds were about even with our opponents this year. We had 1,208 to their 1,213. So not quite the 1,395 to 1,000 that we saw under Buzz, but when you're outscoring them by such a significant margin, you don't need to necessarily play that style that Buzz was. And so the fact that Bucky McMillan in Aggieland was able to do that in year one with such a short amount of time to put his roster together with the limited resources and what was left in the portal, and he kind of pieced together the team and was able to, have success with it. It's great, and it shows, it's a great coach, and he's a great coach, and his style works. But the other thing is, it's going to help with recruiting, right? People are going to want to come play in our system. Why would you not want to come play in a system where you're encouraged to shoot early and often, and in a system where Bucky wants you to take the shot if you have it open. He doesn't want you, grinding out the shot clock and waiting until the end and wearing yourself down, right? I mean, he wants you hustling up and down the court, but it's a fun style of basketball to play, and people are having success. So in the end, people are going to want to come to Aggieland and play with Bucky, and I think that's going to help him in recruiting and in recruiting people here from the portal, which means he's only going to have more talent to work with, and the same successful system. Which means, in a few years from now, when he has what he feels like is his best team, 2 or 3 years from now, maybe. Who knows? We could be making a run to Sweet 16, Elite 8, or further. Who knows? And even this year, I don't. I could see us doing well against St. Mary's, and you never know. Well, against U of H, right? But getting into that a little bit now, let's talk March Madness. Thursday, taking on St. Mary's. We're in the bracket up in OKC, Oklahoma City. If we do manage to get past St. Mary's, then we'll have U of H. But St. Mary's is no joke to look past. So the way that bracketology more or less kind of works is there's 4 quadrants. Quadrant 4 teams would be considered the weakest. Quadrant 1 teams would be considered the best. And there's a committee that kind of analyzes that along with strength of schedule. There's a bunch of terms like BPI, net, all of these different things. But basically what it comes down to is strength of schedule, quality of opponents, quality wins. Similar to the way that the playoff committee looks at things, obviously conference, strength of conference and conference record and things. There are some differences though, right? Conference champions get auto bids to March Madness. So that's how you see some of these smaller teams making it in. And you can do stuff like that when you have, 64 or I guess technically 68 slots available. So if we look at St. Mary's, though, they are undefeated in Quad 4 and Quad 3. 7-0 against Quad 4 competition. They actually played a non-Division 1 team and won that game as well. Then they're 10-0 against Quad 3 schools. 8-1 against Quad 2. so really good from quadrant 2 down. So, they beat all of these people that they were supposed to, essentially. Now, in quad 1, they've only played games against 5 quad 1 opponents, and they're 1-4. So, not the strongest record, really, against quad 1 opponents. So, their division that they're in and stuff, I wouldn't know much about it, but are they playing the same level of competition that we see in the SEC? I don't know. That's something to take into consideration that could be a bit of an advantage for us. Now, A&M, on the other hand, undefeated against Quad 4 and the Quad 3. In Quad 2, we played 7 Quad 2 games. We were 4-3. So there were some teams that we lost to that we probably shouldn't have throughout the year this year. And then 5-8 in Quad 1. But, quite a bit more games played in that Quad 1 spot. 13 of them to be exact, and we went 5-8 versus St. Mary's only having to play 5, and they went 1-4. Some other interesting statistics: St. Mary's went undefeated at home and 8-2 on the road, 2-3 at neutral sites, while A&M was 14-4 at home, 6-5 on the road, and 1-2 at neutral sites. Our strength of record: 36 to St. Mary's 30. Mary's ends up getting a higher seed based off of a number of factors, right, that I won't even pretend to understand. But I think it really should be a fairly competitive game. St. Mary's is favored by about 2.5 points. Well, they entered the 2026 NCAA tournament as a number 7 seed. This marks their 5th straight trip to March Madness. They're led by Coach Randy Bennett, and they'll be facing off against us, 10 seed Texas A&M, in the first round. This team's known for elite defense. They rank 19th in defensive efficiency, and they're led by their forward, Paulius Marauskas. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but here's a picture of him. So forward Paulius Marauskas is the offensive focal point and a primary rebounder. Sophomore guard Mikey Lewis is also a top 3-point shooter for them. They are a very defensively disciplined team. They have a slow-paced offense relying on high efficiency and fundamental play. So at the end of the day, how does A&M beat St. Mary's? Well, the answer is simple. We need to shut down their offense, right? We need to shut down their threes. If we can do that through aggressive defense, if we need to get out and trap people quickly, if we need full court press, whatever ideas Bucky's got with his Bucky ball, we've got to slow down their offense, prevent the threes from falling. If we can do that and convert on our threes, then we'll be okay. We need the 3 to fall, and we need to shut down their threes. They're going to score on us inside. They've got that big guy, right, getting rebounds and scoring inside. We talked about Palaskas. Goodness, I'm going to have to put his name in the description. But he's going to be the one. I haven't watched a lot of St. Mary's this year. I do apologize. He's going to be the one, though, that's probably going to score a lot of points on us. We need to key in on that 3-point shooter, shut him down, and then that's going to allow us to win the game at the end of the day. I think the Aggies have a shot to get it done. If they do, they'll move on to face the Cougars. And if that happens, then we'll be back to preview that game. But for now, beat the hell out of St. Mary's, and we'll see you on sometime after for a recap. But as always, game and God bless. See you next time. Stay tuned to our socials, as not sure when I'm going to drop this video, probably later tonight. So if you're seeing this, be sure to stay tuned to the socials regardless. Comment, rate, subscribe down below. Let me know what kind of content you want to see. Do you want more sports content like this? Do you want more interviews, more music-based content, whatever, vlogs, whatever y'all's favorite types of videos are, let me know down below. We'll try to get some more of those going. Things coming up. We are planning to be on site for the grand opening of Hurricane Harry's tomorrow, as they're reopening on Northgate. So if you're seeing this, it's probably about to open. because this will drop either later tonight or tomorrow. But again, we'll be on site for the grand opening of Hurricane Harry's. We're planning to try to catch a concert this weekend, as well as up at the Tap. And Logan Ryan will be in town, so we're going to try to go out to that as well. As always, Gig 'em and God bless, and for real, see you next time this time. Bye.